We have a lot of activity in our chat room, and just some comments here from Chuck. Practicing medicine, the practice of drugging children to make them normal is very destructive to the entire world. It is only done to control and destroy that sentient being. Perhaps a true answer would be to ask whose version of society. When I talk about normal, I use the word normal. I knew it would be a hot spot for a lot of people. From Stonewall,
but it's not even used in psychiatry because they don't. My colleagues, I am a psychiatrist, don't even pretend to make people normal. I mean, when the FDA...
I think that's a great revelation. I've got to tell you that. Let me get through these.
Well, we don't even have that concept of making anybody normal. We're just trying to eradicate a symptom here or there.
I want to get through these in the chat room. Then I want to ask you about the empathic therapy. By definition, the introduction of the drug into the child system means they are now decidedly not normal, as a pathogen is present to disease. Very good point. From Deer Tick, they are still using electric shock treatment along with multiple SSRIs. SSRIs, I'm not sure what that is.
The newer antidepressants, like Prozac and Paxil.
From Jack Mack, Chantrix on the list of top 10 most dangerous drugs. And again from Chalk, a big thank you for having this sane doctor on the show. And we do.
I love it.
We do try to bring a little bit of sanity. Yes, indeed. Let me shift gears a little bit here. Empathy, in its purest sense, is feeling what others are feeling. What is empathic therapy? You have set up something called the Center for Empathic Therapy, you and your wife. What exactly is empathic therapy? What are its objectives?
Well, it's the Center for the Study of Empathic Therapy, Education, and Living, and while my wife and I run it, we've got the advisory council of 50 of some of the top professionals in the world and the country. And I've been so excited. Our conference, people are coming from all over the world to our conference in April, but anyone can attend it. What I'm trying to emphasize with the concept of empathy is that you don't stand outside the person, make up a theory about them, diagnose them, crunch their whole life down into a few words like manic depressive or ADD, that instead you put yourself into the person's viewpoint. You understand what aspects of life the human being is struggling with, whether it's internal conflict or trauma, and then you help that person move from where they are to a better place. But to do that, you have to be willing to understand and not feel in an overwhelming way, but put yourself in the place of another human being with their struggles. Generally, it's not terribly hard to do because we're all made of the same spiritual stuff, all God's children. We are all so much alike. And then we just look at, and try to help people by empowering them, helping them, pursue life, liberty, and happiness, even life, liberty, property, and happiness, as it should have been said.
Is this your creation? Is this that you and your wife, is your wife a psychiatrist?
No, my wife is just the smartest human being I've ever met and just does everything she can to empower my work.
So is this just that you kind of were sitting down and a light bulb went on over your head and you said, oh, gee, I've just discovered a new form of therapy? Or is this something that's been around for a while and you're bringing new wrinkles to it? I've never heard of it.
Well, first of all, I think it's ageless. I think that all profound philosophy, certainly the whole Judeo-Christian tradition, leads up to the idea of the golden rule. And this almost goes beyond it. The golden rule is do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Empathy really says do unto others as they would have you do if you consider it ethical and if you think it's going to help them. Empathy is a concept I've been writing about literally since 1954 when I walked into the state mental hospitals, looked at these poor wretches and said to myself, this is not different from me, but for the grace of God, I could be curled up in some corner of a state mental hospital. These are human beings who've gone through something awful and maybe made some awful mistakes. From the beginning, this was my viewpoint. But I've been most noteworthy in the world for being the conscience of psychiatry, for criticizing psychiatry, for looking at drugs, shock, and lobotomy. And I've decided now that I also want to more and more talk about what I think is positive. And I think that one of the chief aspects of what is positive in helping people, whether you're a minister, a priest, a rabbi, or a therapist, or really almost any kind of helper, even if you're a good show host, talk radio host, and I do that, I have my own little show too, what you do is you want to put yourself into the position of understanding the people you're dealing with. But this is far into psychiatry. The diagnostic manual is all about not understanding people, but understanding a concept and sticking it on people. And all that does is limit and humiliate people. You can't capture a human being in a diagnosis.
I'd say that's superb. That's absolutely superb. And are you familiar with Lee Strasberg?
I know the name, but you're going to have to remind me.
Lee Strasberg, method acting.
Of course. Oh, yeah. Well, that's empathy.
From way back. What you've just described is method acting in psychiatry. The method essentially says, as an actor, I can tell you this, the method says that when you're playing a role, you want to completely immerse yourself in the character so that your actions, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you deliver your lines will be in the character of that role. So in this case, you're saying you want to immerse yourself in the subject, in the patient, in the other person. Find out what that person is about so that you can relate to that person. It's method acting in psychiatry.
I've actually made the comparison, and I did it on Sunday. Because on Sunday, I just forgot about Lee Strasberg. I was talking about method acting. On Sunday, I got filmed for a workshop I'm doing on therapy. And what I do when I teach how to do therapy is I put myself both in the role of a therapist, but sometimes I'll alternate and put myself in the role of someone seeking help. And when I train students, I have them get into the role of being a patient, being a client, so they can feel it and enable themselves to truly connect with the people they're helping. Nothing like that goes on in psychiatric training. It may go on in the training of non-medical people, like I train counselors to do that. It may happen in the training of psychologists. But psychiatrists, it's all standoff and control and diagnose, medicate, and shock. It's inhumane. It's a tragedy.
All innovators are met with shall we say, challenges among their peers. They're not exactly the most popular people on the block. I would imagine the same has been true for you. How effective have you been, or has the center been, in bringing into the fold people who are your peers, others in the psychiatric community?
Well, first, about the opposition that's been to my work, imagine anything, Brent, and the threat has been done and maybe even carried out at one time or another. I go up against $1 billion of industry, and I've cost them probably billions over the years in terms of my books, my legal work, my testimony, encouraging other doctors to get into the courtroom. So that's why there's hardly anyone like me, because the threats, the price you pay is too great. But my beliefs is that it's very worth it to stand up for what you believe in. There are a handful of psychiatrists. There are probably 12 psychiatrists on the advisory council, but most of them won't just go out there and take the lumps like I do. I don't think we're going to win over the psychiatrists any more than you could win over, and I do believe it's not an unfair analogy, slaveholders before the Civil War. There's too much investment in the power, the glory, the money, the authority.
But obviously, like you said, you have 12. Okay, that's 12.
And there's more.
Oh,
but
yeah, where there's 12, there's probably more. They're certainly not in the majority, and you may have to look in order to find them, but I'll bet you they're out there. You mentioned that the April event...
Just Brent, quickly, we got to change the culture. It's very much like what has to be done politically. The culture is what's got to rear up and not accept any more the diagnosing and drugging. But go ahead, I interrupted.
No, that's okay. We're just about out of time. I want to make sure I get some basic info in there. The April event that you mentioned, it's not just open to professionals. Anyone can attend. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. We have just ordinary folks, advocates coming, teachers, parents, and you can find out everything you could want to know about the conference on empathictherapy.org, empathictherapy.org, or just go to Breggin, Breggin, on Google. You'll find a few tens of thousands, and you'll find me. Breggin.com, you'll get right to me. Breggin.com or empathictherapy.org.
And we'll have both of those posted on our links page on our website as well. We do that on the weekend. And so by the end of the weekend, that'll be done. Dr. Peter Breggin, it's been a pleasure. The time went by so fast, but boy, oh boy, I'm glad there's somebody out there who's thinking outside the box on these issues. There, but for the grace of God, go I indeed. Dr. Peter Breggin, www.empathictherapy.org. Thank you so much for spending this time.
Thank you.